The rain had a cruel way of reminding me of everything I had lost. I stood under the awning of a rundown coffee shop in Brooklyn, watching the droplets gather in tiny puddles at my feet, trying not to think about how far I had fallen. A few years ago, I owned 3 companies, wore tailored suits, and flew first class. Now, I was lucky if I could afford black coffee in a chipped paper cup. Life had a strange way of humbling you. That morning had been particularly rough. The investor I had begged for one last chance turned me down. Politely, of course. He even offered to pay for my Uber ride home, as if I had a home. Pride made me decline. My phone buzzed with automated messages, late payments, final warnings, the echo of a life that was slipping through my fingers faster than I could grasp. I didn't know why I walked that particular route that day. Maybe I just wanted to feel anonymous. Or maybe life had decided it was time I met her. She sat in front of an abandoned bookstore, her knees tucked into her chest, a battered backpack at her side. Her coat was too thin for the weather, and her shoes were so worn that the toes peeked out like secrets desperate to be told. But what struck me most was her eyes, dark, watchful, and not the least bit afraid. She was reading a tattered book, her lips moving silently with each word, as if trying to remember what it felt like to speak with purpose. I would have walked past her, like everyone else. But I dropped my phone. It slipped from my hand, bounced on the wet concrete, and landed inches from her boot. She picked it up, wiped it gently with her sleeve, and held it out to me. "You okay?" she asked. Her voice was soft, but carried a weight I couldn't ignore. I nodded, feeling foolish. "Yeah, just clumsy. You look like someone who hasn't had coffee yet." That made me laugh, actually laugh, for the first time in days. I offered to buy her one. She hesitated but eventually stood, slinging the backpack over her shoulder. "Only if we get it to go," she said. "I don't like being in one place too long." Inside the coffee shop, she ordered the cheapest drink on the menu and thanked the barista like he'd handed her a miracle. I watched her closely. She didn't ask for anything more. She didn't complain. She just sipped quietly, savoring every drop. "I'm Leo," I said, unsure why I was even introducing myself. "I'm Rowan." Rowan. It suited her. She had this strength, this quiet resilience, like a tree that had grown wild through cracks in cement. We ended up sitting on a bench nearby, sheltered from the wind. I found myself telling her things I hadn't shared with anyone. About the company I lost, the partner who betrayed me, the friends who vanished when the money did. And she listened, not with pity, but with something else. Understanding. She didn't offer advice. She just nodded, then told me about her mother, who died when she was 16. About the foster homes. The jobs that paid too little. The nights she spent sleeping in stairwells. And yet she never sounded bitter. She spoke with a kind of peace that made my own pain feel less sharp. "I used to think love was something rich people talked about in movies," she said. "But my mom loved me, even when we had nothing. That kind of love doesn't care about bank accounts." I didn't know what came over me. Maybe it was the way her eyes held mine without judgment, or the way she made me feel like I still mattered. But I asked her to meet me again. Same spot, next day. She smiled. "Sure. Unless it rains again. It's New York. Of course it'll rain again." But she came back. Every day? For weeks. Sometimes we shared coffee, sometimes just silence. I found myself looking forward to those mornings more than anything. She gave me hope when I thought hope had forgotten me. I started applying for jobs again. Small gigs at first. A copywriting job here, a marketing consultation there. She helped me revise my resume. Turns out she used to be top of her class in high school. I started getting calls back. Not just because of the resume, but because she reminded me who I used to be. One night, I asked her if she had a place to stay. She didn't. Just an alley behind a laundromat that didn't shoo her away. I couldn't let her go back there. "Come stay with me," I said, not thinking about the fact that my apartment was one room with a sink that never stopped leaking. She looked unsure. "I don't want your pity." "It's not pity," I said. "It's love. I think I've fallen for you, Rowan." Her eyes widened. She blinked fast. "No one's ever said that to me." "I mean it." She didn't say anything right away, just leaned into me, resting her head against my shoulder. "Then I guess we both found something we weren't looking for." I got a full-time job a month later. Marketing manager for a mid-sized tech firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. More importantly, it let me build something again. She helped me furnish the apartment, painted the walls, added thrift store curtains. It felt like home for the first time. A year later, I started a new company, This time smarter, slower, with lessons burned into my skin. She stood beside me every step, sometimes with ideas, sometimes just with encouragement. The company took off. Investors returned, not the same ones, but better ones. Ones who saw what I saw. A vision. A future. We got married under a tree in Prospect Park. Just a handful of friends. She wore a dress we found at a consignment shop. I wore a suit that finally fit again. And when I kissed her, I realized I had everything I ever needed. People asked me what changed. How I got rich again. I always told them the truth. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't luck. It was love. Her love. Rowan's love made me rich in every way that mattered. And I would spend the rest of my life proving that to her.